This is the DeFi Decoded podcast by 9 Point Partners in cooperation with Prophecy DeFi. The ideas and opinions expressed in this podcast should not be taken as investment advice. Always consult with your financial advisor before investing.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of DeFi Decoded. My name is Alex Tapscott. Andrew Young is off on personal matters, but we are very excited about this week's episode. Amidst the daily crypto gyrations, it's easy to forget that this technology and this asset class is having a profound impact really all around the world. And to a Canadian and American audience, it might surprise many people to learn that crypto as an asset class and as a technology is actually more popular in the developing world than it is in the developed world. There are certain countries, in fact, like Nigeria, where crypto usage is higher than it is almost anywhere else in the world. And it's no surprise why. You're looking at places where the financial infrastructure is underdeveloped, where a lot of people are unbanked, or where they may not necessarily want to maintain savings and do transactions in their native currency, in their local currency. So we're very fortunate today to be joined by a guest who can tell us a lot more about this very important development that's happening in the developing world. Dickson Nsofor is a serial entrepreneur who has led several organizations in the internet and mobile technology areas from Africa and China. Mr. Nsofor is the founder and CEO of Quora, which is a Techstars-backed startup that has grown from its Toronto office to offices in Lagos, Nairobi, and the United Kingdom. It's a pan-African payment infrastructure company offering a robust payment API for payment collections, disbursements, and conversions for businesses anywhere in Africa. So Dickson, thank you very much for joining the show.
Thank you so much, Alex. First, I must say it's a great privilege to be on your show. Thank you.
Well, we really appreciate it, of course. So tell us about your decision to launch Quora and the problem and I guess the opportunity that you saw in the markets that you were going after.
Okay, so back at the time, I was interning at the UN. And we were working on I came across a project which was international distribution of aid, and it just got me focused more into how payments are being done into Africa. So that was a really big problem. All right, the cost is high. It takes 3 to 5 days and all that. But then worst of all was within Africa, it was literally faster to drive money like cash from Nigeria to Ghana than to do a wire transfer. And so I felt like someone had to do this. And that was when I encountered your book at the time with your dad, and I ate the book up. And it helped me create an MVP on WhatsApp. So I just created a small WhatsApp group where I helped people move money across borders via Bitcoin. And it simply just meant that someone will be in an African country and someone will be in the US and want to send money to any African country. And then I had the ability to buy cryptocurrency and convert it to that local currency and transfer it to the end user. And that became I think it was at least 90% cheaper than what everyone was doing. And it was almost near instant. I'll do the transaction today, say 12 noon, and by 12:31 p.m., the recipient has the money in their account. And so that birthed the idea of Quora. And at the time, we wanted to build Quora to be a remittance platform, right? I read about your case studies of Abra and all that stuff on the book. And I thought somebody needed to do something like what Abra was doing at the time in Africa. And it was a bit hard to launch out, but we started it slowly, built the first version. It failed. We tried to leverage cryptocurrency. It failed heavily, the Quora network. And then we went over to try again to do it through a remittance platform, and it failed woefully till we then pivoted to being a Pan-African payment infrastructure. And so what we do as a payment infrastructure is we simply enable businesses to, I would say, I like to refer to Quora as Lego, right? We're the Lego for payments. We give you the APIs you need to stack up every kind of payment experience that you want to build on your platform. And we do it by leveraging a number of tools across board. So yeah, that's what we're doing, Alex.
Well, what I really like about the Quora story is that you're providing this service for businesses that is making it easier to move money between countries in Africa, but also between African countries and the rest of the world. And underneath this, underneath these pieces of Lego, is blockchain, or specifically, crypto asset rails. But your customers don't see it, right? And to me, this is the most interesting insight, which is a lot of people ask, with all of these new Web3 use cases and applications, will everybody be using crypto? And the answer is, well, that may be true for lots of people, but for others, they may be using it without even knowing that they're using it, right? And that's something that I find such an interesting insight about your business. So do you want to talk a little bit more about that? How does that work exactly?
Yes, Alex, you're 100% correct. Today, this light is on. My laptop is working, but I really don't understand the principle of electricity. I don't get what's happening, like what power was stored into the system's battery that it's powering this interview. And I think that's exactly what blockchain is. Blockchain is supposed to be at the back end. It's very similar to electricity. You see applications of blockchain, and like I always compare it to electricity, because at the time when electricity came out, it was like, whoa, this is magic, this is witchcraft. Some people got killed because they were advocating for electricity. And for us at Quora, we don't believe, like, I've never believed in Bitcoin as a speculative asset, never believed in Bitcoin as a store of value, but I've always believed in cryptocurrency and blockchain as a medium of exchange. I think that's the most powerful use case for we in the developing country, as opposed to trying to buy low, sell high, or trying to like speculate on coins. And the reason why is because there's a huge fundamental across developing countries, and that's trust. And if you could build a trustless system that enables me to exchange value with anyone across the world, be it in America, in Singapore, in China, wherever they are, in a trustless manner, and you would accept that something has value across borders, then I think that's revolutionary. That bridges the whole gap of the whole financial service infrastructure that we've seen that have actually impoverished Africa, right? Africa is like left alone. But what we see happening now with companies like ours coming up, a lot of other great and smart companies coming up, is that we are bridging the gap by utilizing global financial tools to serve the underserved markets. And so we leverage blockchain technology where necessary to increase speed and to cut costs. And I think that's going to be the future of payments across the world. That's going to be the, payments, or rather financial services hasn't had its own revolution in like the last 50 or 60 years. So with the introduction of blockchain technology and smart applications like the way we're doing it, the user doesn't have to see anything Bitcoin, doesn't have to know anything Bitcoin, doesn't even have to know anything called USDC or USDT. All the businesses want to do is transact in their local fiat currencies, and they want to be able to make payouts across African countries, pay out to anywhere in the world. And that's what we specialize in doing. Yeah.
I love the expression, bridging the gap by using global financial tools to connect Africa to the world. So let's quantify this. Since you've been, I think it's worth mentioning that Korapay as a business isn't exclusively relying on crypto rails. You've got other aspects of your business, which would be more non-crypto fintech. But on the crypto side of things, how much money have you moved? Or what? I mean, if you can't say, like, roughly speaking, I mean, are we talking
billions? It's in billions.
$1 billion? Oh, in the billions. Okay, so there you go. So the billions of dollars. So this is something, and it's worth mentioning too that your customers are primarily individuals or businesses.
Primarily, primarily we serve businesses. And again, like Alex, it's very important to note that, like the businesses, like, don't necessarily like so there's a hoax about cryptocurrency now, especially in Africa. When you talk about blockchain, everyone doesn't understand the technology. All they think about is Bitcoin. We don't talk to Bitcoin. We work with a lot of stable currencies, USDC, USDT, and we're able to bridge that gap using a lot of stable currencies, right? And build automated systems into them. And the businesses we serve are firstly, very gracious to us that we're in the business because we save them a lot of money. We do it faster. Now, how we do it matters to a couple of the businesses, and a lot of them we disclose. Like you mentioned, we have two different rails. We have countries where cryptocurrencies are friendly and we serve them using the crypto rails, and countries where it's not friendly and then we serve them using the fiat rails. So it doesn't, like a lot of times the businesses, to be very honest, don't care. Like if I'm having a headache, Advil or Tylenol, I just need to get the headache done. And that's what we find out a lot in a lot of the African countries. There's a massive problem of them being able to convert across multiple currencies or pay out. Let's say I'm a business in Kenya and I've accepted payments in Nigeria. How do I return my funds back to Kenya and support my HQ in Kenya? So those are the kind of like problems that they have, and we figured smart ways to solve them.
Fascinating. So do you think Africa is going to become the first crypto native continent in the world?
For sure. Like, I don't think I know.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm curious, because you mentioned that you're interested in the technology as a medium of exchange. And we wrote that in the first book, and built off that concept that this is the first digital medium for exchange, in the same way that the internet was the first digital medium for information. And at the same time, in places like Canada and the US, Bitcoin specifically is held as a form of investment asset, sort of a digital gold, because it's not issued by a company or a country, and it takes time and energy to produce, and sort of a savings instrument. And there are other crypto assets as well, which people use in Web3 applications, but also primarily hold for sort of speculative investment purposes. But what I'm hearing from you is that in Africa and elsewhere, that medium of exchange argument is probably resonating a lot more for people maybe than it is here. And perhaps that's because there's no legacy infrastructure, or at least it's not as widely available. I think in Canada and the US, most people have relationships with their banks. Some of them are happy with those relationships, but the idea of switching in general is kind of complicated. Right. But if you're not switching from anything, then it's easier to start as something new, right? Do you want to just talk about the dynamics in Africa in general?
Yes. So I really love how you broke it down. There are two phases there. The first phase is the speculative phase, and then the second phase is the utility phase. So from my own standpoint, and as a business owner and as a business builder and an ecosystem stakeholder in the market, my focus and my company's focus is on the exchange of value. Yeah. However, my focus might not be as a medium of value, right? As a medium of exchange, right? However, my focus might not be the people's focus. That's the mass consumers. So a lot of the consumers, that's the people living in most of the countries in Africa, are often faced with issue of currency devaluation. Sometimes some currencies could devalue as much as 2 to 3% per month. That high. Sometimes it could go as much as, some currencies devalue as much as 10%, 15% per year. So a lot of people look towards Bitcoin and stable coins as a way to preserve their wealth. A lot of them. It's, in fact, the first awareness or the first encounter a lot of people have with cryptocurrencies is speculation. Look, you put your money here, it's going to double, or you put your money here, it's going to have more value than your local currency. Yeah. And we have millions and millions of them. Like in Nigeria precisely, it's like, I think I saw a stat one time that Binance third most performing country in the world is Nigeria.
Wow. By number of users, do you think? Or
by number of users and volume. And I wouldn't expect all of those users to be using Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. Like, no. it's still coming, but I don't think that's what they're doing now.
Yeah.
Gonna come. However, from us on the back end, the businesses and the infrastructure players, we see the true value, and we don't see the value in the speculative nature of cryptocurrencies or in the technology itself, blockchain. We see more value in the blockchain technologies. So that's why our focus as builders is to keep building with the technology. But for sure, the speculative size, market size in Africa is like way more than the utility side for now.
Well, it's worth mentioning too that when you say more interested in the blockchain than the speculative side, the blockchain in your business though is still, you mentioned stable coins, which are public blockchain crypto asset that are being used in your case as a payment rail, right? So it's not like you're building some private blockchain consortium or something. You are plugging into the publicly available crypto asset world, right? You're just utilizing it as a medium of exchange to improve and enhance your business for your customers, right? And I think that's sort of an important distinction. And in terms of speculation for the local currency, I mean, I think this is one of the reasons why central bankers in the developing world are probably more concerned about this stuff than they are in places like the US and Canada. I think in the US and Canada, there's some interest in the technology, some curiosity about the asset class, some concerns around whether it can be used, for criminal activity, what have you, which we think those fears are generally overblown, but that is a concern. But there's not a lot of fear, I think, in the Federal Reserve that Bitcoin or any other crypto asset is going to replace the dollar. If anything, it looks like USDC and USDT are basically exporting the dollar along these digital rails to the rest of the world. And the irony is that crypto could actually be the best thing that ever happened for the US dollar. That's not the case, obviously, in places like Nigeria. And I was on a panel, I think I've told the story on this podcast, but I was on a panel in the Middle East with the governor of the Bank of Pakistan, whose deputy had just released a recommendation in a white paper that the country ban all digital assets. Now, there are lots of problems with that, namely that, to your point, if blockchains are just a medium for value, then those digital assets could be literally anything. It could be everything from, artwork to copyrights to votes to stocks, using blockchain. So that's a bad reason. But the other thing that's sort of interesting is that they're worried about dollarization, the idea that people will substitute crypto assets for the local currency. That sounds to me like a concern that's also been raised by the central bank in Nigeria. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes. Like I was just smiling all through when you were speaking. My regulators are going to kill me when they watch this. But
well, I'm the one doing all the talking.
Exactly.
Respond to what I said,
But you're 100% correct. Like, so we could do a simple test. Go to every young person in Lagos, Nigeria, or across Africa, and ask them, would you rather get paid in USDC or would you rather get paid in Naira? And you hear what they'll say. The dollar, there's so much pressure on African countries to dollarize. And I'll tell you why. The first factor is that we don't produce enough. So we don't produce enough on a global scale to attract the inflow of dollar into the economy. And even a country like Nigeria that has a huge oil reserve and oil generation, like fields and stuff, we still can't attract enough dollar. The shirts I'm wearing, glasses I'm wearing, everything I do is made in China. To pay China, I need US dollar. So as a businessman and as a normal citizen of Nigeria or any African country, you need the dollar to pay, to do stuff. Automatically, that tilts the balance of demand and supply. So the demand for the USD is so high. And so you find people working, earning, say, for instance, 200,000 Naira, 300,000 Naira, last 3 years, which was then $1,000. Now, that's like $400, right? So you then find them like, no, that's not supposed to be my fault because I still have to buy things from abroad. So for that reason, I want to be paid in dollar. And so you see businesses changing their invoices to dollar. freelancers changing their bills to dollar. You even find local Nigerian talents all being shipped out to take foreign jobs because they want to just be able to get paid in the currency that is not the local currency. Of course, as a central bank, you're not like that. You're not going to like that. It puts so much pressure on you as a central bank governor, as a central bank team trying to, stabilize your economy. And so, Nigeria banned all FIs and banks, like all financial institutions and banks, to work with crypto companies. So my company, as a licensed company as well in Nigeria, I don't work with, like, you can't work with crypto companies in Nigeria. And then, there's still regulations around how much dollar you can spend from your bank card. All right. So I think some banks have a maximum of $100 a month. Yeah. Some banks have a limit of $1,000 a month. So dollarization is a big fear for a lot of, and I'm not, it's not only in Nigeria, it's almost all African countries, it's almost all. And that's just because the demand is so high. So with cryptocurrency, cryptocurrency is a bypass. It's literally, I don't need JP Morgan, I don't need intermediary bank, I don't need Swift. With cryptocurrencies, I could pay for global services without a third party. I could get paid. Like I have a friend who's a freelancer, and he started building websites as I think around 2011, 2012. Alex, this guy started being paid through Bitcoin in like 2013, 2014. You know what I mean? Like, because of the whole dollarization, he's found a way to get paid through Bitcoin, and he was being paid. And he's still
holding it. I hope he's so.
He's so rich because he got a lot of payments. I think then he used to get 300, 400 Bitcoins payments like almost every quarter. And I'm just saying that if people found a way to get paid through a global currency, which Bitcoin and USDC and USDT is, in a way that nobody can monitor it or nobody can, put a restriction on it, that's what they're going to do. And that's what most African youths are doing now. Like, it's so common. It's so common. Like, I have to follow the regulation. That's why I'm not going to do it. I have an obligation to the Central Bank of Nigeria. However, I know a lot of young people are doing it. A lot of young people are living like that.
Do you think that those young people, if given the choice between the NAR and Bitcoin, would choose Bitcoin over NAR?
100%.
Yeah. So what you mentioned originally USDC, and I'm wondering, the US dollar is the most widely accepted, widely recognized sort of currency in the world. I mean, there's no disputing that. Right. So I can understand that rationale, but even still, they would probably prefer Bitcoin over the local currency.
Yeah, I think we ran we did a bit of a test, and I'm certain. But if you go do that test now, they're going to say yes, and they're going to tell you why. Firstly, is because I can change my Bitcoin into USDC. Secondly, Bitcoin can go up and down, so maybe it can go really up. Maybe I can reach tomorrow. So yeah. The
volatility is a feature, not a bug in that respect.
Exactly.
So you started the company only a few years ago, and you said you've already processed billions of dollars of transactions using these crypto rails as the medium. And so how big is the company in terms of people? Like, how many people are you employing now?
So as at today, we're about 120 plus. I think 122, 123.
And based in Nigeria and
we're scattered.
Yeah.
Some are in Canada, some are in the UK. We just expanded into the UK now. Shout out to the government of Birmingham. So we're doing a lot of work with the government of Birmingham. We're in Kenya. We're also expanding to South Africa, expanding to Zimbabwe, Tanzania, Uganda, Ghana over the course of this year. So it's baby steps, but we're getting there.
Yeah. So in a few short years, you've gone from a concept that was being, used
on WhatsApp
ad hoc basis to a company employing 120 people in probably a dozen countries, doing billions of dollars a year of transaction volume. Just so people understand like what we're talking about.
And we're profitable as well.
And you're profitable as well. Well, that's kind of an amazing accomplishment. So what does this company look like to you a few years out? I mean, I'm guessing it sounds to me like you want to keep scaling it and building it. Is there potential for Korapay to be the leading financial technology solution company in all of Africa? Do you have bigger ambitions? What's next?
Okay, so this is moonshot, but
Yeah.
it was a concept you started exploring. It seems like I'm just like if I need to build a new thing, I just need to get your latest book. So like it's a concept you started exploring about a trustless system of payment that could replace SWIFT.
Yeah.
It sounds really ballsy. It sounds like undoable. But if you really look at it, at the heart of every payment company, you're a switch. You're switching transactions across multiple processors, either via pricing or reliability or speed. At Quora, I strongly believe that we will transcend being, and first of all, there's a concept I believe transaction fees is going to end up being for losers. So transactions are going to be zero. Like it's racing down to zero. So I think at some point in time, transaction fees will be an obsolete thing. Transactions will be all free at some point. However, if you look at the infrastructure that has been built to serve Africa, I think it's very Western. I think it doesn't have the understanding of the local markets across board. I think it has zero cultural fit to it. I think, you just build a system from the West and you tag all African countries as XXX, high risk, red. I think it's bullshit, personally. And I believe that there needs to be a SWIFT 2.0 built for the African market, more like a Pan-African payment infrastructure, PAPI, right? Built on the blockchain, where parties can come in and transact in a trustless way, instant settlement, same day, like instant settlement, spot exchange rates, and being able to offer this to not just fintechs anymore, but to be able to offer this to banks, and to be able to offer this to FIs, like to offer this to the big shots in the local market. Like, why do I have to send money to Ghana and it has to go to the US and then London and then to Ghana? Why? Right. So again, from the concept, I think eventually we are going to leapfrog as an infrastructure company. I mean, as a people, Africa, we're going to leapfrog. We never saw, like, my brothers never saw checkbooks, right? Like, my brother never used a desktop. Like, I'm talking about my brother because he's a Gen Z, he's young. He never used all those things. Like, all he used was his mobile banking app, and that's it. And for a lot of people growing up in Kenya, they don't even know what a banking system is. All they know is M-Pesa. Yeah. And eventually, I'm saying that banks and businesses and young people are just going to see that transactions across border is going to happen in Africa as if you're sending a text message, right? Money is going to move like a text message across the continent. And to power that, you need a trustless system. And I think Quora is best positioned to build that. So when people look at us as today, they see us as a payment gateway. Yes. You see us as a payment infrastructure for payouts across Africa. Yes. However, upon that solution, we're going to build a Pan-African switch eventually. And that switch is going to be able to power the back-end transactions for the next billions of people in Africa. And so that's why I think we should build.
Okay. That's quite a vision. Well, I mean, you nailed it, right? I mean, we talk about the market for cross-border payments, but nobody ever talks about the market for cross-border email or cross-border text message. It's like when it comes to information, it is frictionless and it does cost zero. And yet, to your point, to send money from Nigeria to Ghana, who are right next to each other, you've got to send it first through two Western countries and through their financial system, which is seems so insane when you really truly think about it, right? And it sort of begs the question that, like, well, obviously you're well positioned to do that, but what's stopping you from doing it now? Like, let's think about the way the business works today. So you're using, let's assume for a second that USDC is the sort of main payment rail here. You've
Right.
got NAR in Nigeria, the local currency, and then in Ghana, whatever the local currency is there, I don't know what it's called. I'm sure you do, but is the issue that the fiat on-ramping into the crypto rail that prevents it from existing right away? Like, is that the limiting factor? And is what you're suggesting something that kind of does away with the friction, I guess, or pain points of the on-ramp and the off-ramp? So for our
You're
listeners,
right.
the idea is that you're using these exchange platforms in different countries to convert the local currency into crypto asset, then using the crypto asset to basically beam it instantly to any location in the world in seconds, and then having at the back end come off that rail into the local currency, right?
Yes.
So, like, are you saying that within Africa, like, obviously between the US dollar and the euro or the pound or maybe the NAR, there's enough liquidity there that it's easy, but once you get into these smaller markets, it becomes harder. Is that the issue today?
Two issues. Yeah. First issue is regulation. So, and from a regulatory standpoint, a lot of times, like you said, on-ramping is a very regulatory, so for instance, you see countries like Kenya, Nigeria saying crypto payment gateways and banks can on-ramp for crypto companies. It's a regulation now. There's a regulatory friction now. Eventually, it's gonna be up like a stable thing. I think in the next couple of years, it's gonna be very stable, right? And at that point in time, payment companies, banks are going to be able to on-ramp, especially when governments or central banks figure taxation, all right, figure how to tax cryptocurrency proceeds, or figure out how to bring the stakeholders to the table to have a proper round, like a proper transparent white paper or regulations around cryptocurrencies. When that happens, for sure, we're going to have adoption, massive adoption. That's one friction right now to do that. Second friction is, like you mentioned, is the liquidity. There's something called corridors in payments. Corridors could be like, US to Nigeria, Nigeria to Ghana. Right now, you need the crypto corridors to be live, especially in that intra-African trade. It doesn't even need to be live intra-Africa. It just needs to be live crypto to that country, and then that's the beauty there, right? Like for remittance, you need each corridor to be live, but like you need the pair called USD to be live with everyone. But in this kind of business, you don't need, or you just need that country to be vibrant in any particular asset class, any particular digital asset class, and then you're live there. So you see countries like Tanzania compared to a country like, say, for instance, South Africa, not the same flow, not the same volume. It's massive there. So to be able to build APIs and automate systems that will handle payouts and collections from South Africa will be way easier than Tanzania. So there are those two major factors, and eventually time will solve it. Eventually, I always liken this example to, like, the telephone. Back in the days, everybody used like landlines. So if I spoke to you all the way from like Lagos, Nigeria to like the other end of Nigeria, it was connected via wires. And then 10x technology came out better, bouncing the signal waves to the satellites and then bouncing it back. And that's why we have the wireless. It's going to happen in crypto. We're going to have a point where the regulations will be wireless. And when that kicks in, we would be at the forefront, and be at the forefront to be able to provide a seamless payment experience across Africa. However, we're able to still do this on a very grand scale. Like being headquartered in Canada permits us to do so many things, having all our licenses in Canada and various countries in the world. So we can still provide such kind of crazy service. Right now, our treasury desk is live in 25 countries. So we can provide this service, but for high ticket transactions. And you see, that's the magic, that's the devil in the detail. Being able to provide a kind of service you can provide for $1 million for $100, right? So it's not profitable for us and scalable for us to provide micropayments today. However, to provide bulk B2B payments, we're the best in the whole of Africa right now. So eventually, adoption is going to come in, regulation is going to bend in, and then liquidity will be there, and we'll be able to provide what we provide to the biggest clients in the continent. We'll be able to provide such solutions to the smallest people for $100 transaction.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, it reminds me almost a little bit of what Jeff Bezos said when he was developing Amazon, which is that he was looking for, the technology market that was growing significantly. And he was going to build a business that could grow with that technology. And so he started with books because, they're these things, they're non-perishable. They're roughly all the same size. They can fit into a box. They can be shipped around the world. Like, it was basically a choice that was made because it was easiest. And I think about your success, and right now, because of the friction and the regulations and so forth, this business model right now works best for B2B payments and for bulk payments. So you've found like the books of the internet. This is like, do it in like batch it, do it in large bulks. You're going to crush the competition, right? But as the underlying technology scales, it will allow you to do more with this model, and you'll be way ahead of everybody else because you've got an installed client base and technology and expertise and everything else, right? And I think that's a very, very, sensible kind of strategy.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Terrific. All right, so Dickson, like waving your arms in the air, 5 years from now, what does Korapay look like to you?
5 years from now, 5 years from now.
Didn't you start it roughly 4 years ago?
Yes, roughly 4 years ago.
Okay, so let's say 4 years.
Such a long time.
This is what you've done in 4 years. What's going to happen in the next 4 years?
In the next 4 years, firstly, the first thing I would want for Quora would be so you look at Microsoft and you see what Microsoft has been able to do, and Gates' vision to put one system, one computer on every desk in every household in America. It's insane. So it doesn't matter if you're using Compaq, HP, Acer, or whatnot. It's the Microsoft Windows OS powering all of it. I want a 4 years future to look like every single application. I don't care if it's a dating application. I don't care if it's a fintech application, to have the payment operating system of Quora. Meaning that for every 5 applications built on the continent, 4 is powered by Quora payment infrastructure. And I think that will be so much success. That's going to be the real impact, being able to democratize access to such an amazing infrastructure, being able to enable any business to become a fintech at just a click of a button. And so so I don't see competition. Like, I hear names like this, names like that. I don't see competition, to be very honest. I see that future and ourselves today as the true competition, our race to being the powerhouse and the operating system for payments across the continent. So yeah, that's where I think we would be. 4 out of 5 applications on the continent.
Well, a modest goal. A modest goal. Well, Dickson, it's great to chat with you. Congrats on all your success. And if the next 4 years are anything like the first 4 years, I think that, the continent of Africa may be a very different place, more interconnected, more connected to the rest of the world, more inclusive, where people have more access and opportunity to move, store, manage, and build wealth. So I think that's pretty cool. So thanks for joining us on the show. I think a lot of our guests a lot of our listeners will have gotten a lot out of that discussion, because it's easy to understand just the problem you're solving and the way in which you're solving it. So congrats, and hope to chat with you again soon.
Yes, and I also have to thank you for doing the great work you did. I told you, if you ever come to Nigeria, you'll see like a host of people with your books, like that I've shared across, and you'll see I marked almost every single page, and I must say, thank you for doing what you do, because you don't know, I'm 100% certain you had no idea your book will probably inspire one guy from a small corner in Lagos, Nigeria, when you were writing it. And that's the power of like building these institutions and legacy systems, like writing books and telling stories, right? Futuristic stories. So thank you very much for doing what you do, you and Dawn Tapscott.
Well, if we had any small part in your success, then obviously we feel amazing about that. And if the book's having any influence in Nigeria, then that's very gratifying and very humbling. So very cool to hear. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that's it for this week's DeFi Decoded. Tune in next week. We've got a couple actually great guests lined up, big names in DeFi. So you'll want to make sure you tune in the next couple of weeks. Thanks, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your week. Take care.
The information contained herein does not constitute an offer or solicitation by anyone in the United States or in any other jurisdiction in which such an offer or solicitation is not authorized, or to any person to whom it is unlawful to make such an offer or solicitation. Prospective investors who are not residents in Canada should contact their financial advisor to determine whether securities of the funds may be lawfully sold in their jurisdiction.